Good afternoon. How's everybody doing? So, I'm a new YouTuber. Used to be popular on Periscope. Let me just see if I can get this right because this is frozen. Okay, let me lower this down. I'm verifying it works on my computer. I'm a new YouTuber. I just started really doing this on Sunday. Although I've been very technically proficient and I've been tutoring for decades. So I just figured let me combine all this stuff together and try to offer somebody something. Since I only started on Sunday, I have no subscribers, so this is kind of a test. I've done a stream at least once every day now. Some of them were themed, where I already had an idea of what I was going to talk about. I did a couple where they were Ask Me Anythings, so I was kind of hoping people would come in to be able to avail themselves to that. I know Tyler Tutor is having his at 6:30, so I figured I would do this at 5:30, maybe go for half an hour and give people a rest. That said, nobody may know that I'm doing this. So let me just give a little blurb about myself. My name is Greg. I'm from GregsTutoringNYC at gmail.com. I've been tutoring for a few decades, and I mainly tutor math and English, usually to elementary school kids, usually from grade 3 to 8, usually pertaining to the New York State test. But I also tutor from pre-K all the way through high school. I do selective on that sometimes, with my real focus is from grade 3 to 8. But I've helped younger children get into gifted and talented programs. I've helped older kids with their readings to pass the SAT, etc., etc. So I've also in the middle of that done some teaching gigs. I've taught at Columbia and NYU with computer programming mainly in C and C++. Actually, I used to be a programmer. I got sick a couple years ago, and I'm still trying to recuperate. I have concentration issues, and I can't do it all day long, which is where the tutoring comes out really nice for me, because I can tutor a kid for 2 hours, maybe take a 2 or 3 hour break and tutor somebody else. Especially on the weekends, it's more handy. Anyway, this is about the SHSAT. I tutor a lot of kids in the SHSAT and other specialized high schools like Hunter, the Catholic High School admission test, the TACHS, TACHS, the Bergen County Academies in New Jersey. I also tutor some kids every so often in New Jersey on their state tests, and also involves kids from Long Island and Westchester. I've actually been thinking of branching out to Connecticut because I'm curious to see what they have out there. I'd really like to focus more on all the specializations. I've also helped some children get into middle schools like Mark Twain, Bay Academy, things like that. And I'm trying to think if I should just focus more on those. So for some reason, I enjoy that more. It's not better or worse. It's just different. It's just something that rubs me the right way. So lately, I've been considering doing all the specializations, especially including gifted and talented. What I want to make sure, it's really important to me that the child knows what they're in for. In any gifted, talented, or accelerated, or specialized, or elite, or gifted schooling of any sort like that. I like to teach the full child, which means everything about them. Everybody's not perfect, and I think it's really nice to be able to round out a child with tutoring that way, of any capability. And at the end of the day, if you can improve the child, then you succeeded. Sometimes that view is different than the parents' view, and we need to have discussions about that. Again, I have my own children, and I guess I view it slightly different with them, because I have been known to scream my head off at my own kids. But I'm pretty easygoing. I'm laid back. My approach is to have a good time while learning at the same time. Learning is fun. Learning is interesting. So we can get stuff like that going. Okay, so I'm into this 5 minutes. Nobody has joined. So I must have done six videos, half an hour each or so on. So I've done about 3 hours worth of material on the SHSAT without actually getting into any subject material. So I'm trying to think right now, because I was hoping I actually did get a few people showing up with exact questions. And I don't want to make this fluffy either, because there's a whole bunch of other topics to talk about, and I'd rather they be based on other people's topics. This, when I taught as a teacher, this is how I did it. I have an agenda. I have notes already, thousands and thousands of notes, but we would sit down at a round table and just discuss the topic all together. It's less me as the expert pontificating things upon people than sitting down and letting me hear what you need to be addressed. And we'll still cover the topic, but it's important to me that you're with me, because I noticed when I was in school, for all the years I got my bachelor's degree in computer science, that often the teacher would just go into outer space, and if anybody was left behind, they were left behind. And I don't work that way. Even when I taught, I didn't work that way. And there's techniques to get the whole class together and learn from each other and be all in the same pathway. That's important to me. So I would rather, instead of me theoretically bringing up questions that I think you're going to ask, I'd rather you actually ask them, because a lot of and that's what I tried to do in this series of videos I've been doing. I've been doing two levels. One is you practice, now what? And there's 4 parts of that already. And then there's Ask Me Anything, because there's a lot of deep questions involving here. There's a lot of parts to this. It's a high stakes test, or it could be or should be. So stuff like that. So I think the best thing to do is to, because it's really important to me that I get exact questions, because I could talk about something, but it may not be what you're interested in. So, and you can email me at GregsTutoringNYC@gmail.com, and maybe I can do a stream based on your question. I did one earlier in the week. A student emailed me on the way to school saying he had a problem with the reading comprehension part and how could I help him. And I whipped up a YouTube in 10 minutes or whatever, and gave him a whole bunch of ideas based on that. So anyway, the test is in 2 days, at least starting 2 days. Today is Thursday. Hopefully you got your ticket. Good luck in your testing, and good skill in your testing, because you should have good skill in by now. You're practiced. Just make sure you got your ticket. Make sure it's signed. Make sure you have your specialized list of schools. Make sure you have your number 2 pencils. Make sure you have an eraser. Do not bring your calculator or any other things. Make sure you bring a bottle of water and 2 snacks, one for just before and one just after. Try to take maybe 1 bathroom break during the test. Remember to relax and breathe. And another thing, I showed people how to breathe here. And just relax and enjoy this for what it is. Okay, this can be very enjoyable as well, and it's very exciting, and I hope everybody does well on that. And if you're looking at this one first, look at my other ones, and I have a whole bunch of tips and ideas and thought processes about how to approach the test, what is required of you, some mild things on pacing. I could do, maybe I might do another thing tomorrow on pacing, but honestly, if you need to have the test figured out at this point, you should know your strengths and weaknesses, and you should have worked out a strategy of how to best excel at this test. And that's it. So there's about 5 test dates. It starts on Saturday and Sunday. There's another one November 1st, another one November 3rd, another one on November 18th, and then there'll be another one way further in the summer for students who are not New York City residents at the moment. There's a last shot at getting a seat, and those number of seats will be small, super small. And in the event, whether you take the SHSAT or not, start working on the other process, which is your non-specialized high schools. Start going into My Schools at NYC, log on to there, and figure out what your strategy is going to be for an alternate high school. And it's always great to have more than one choice to work from. Remember, when you get the results in March. That's when you're going to get your round 1 letter back in March. There's not going to be, you may have your SHSAT schools listed in order. You don't get to choose them in order. You get one choice. So they're going to tell you one SHSAT school if you got accepted into any of them. Okay, but it's good to have that, and then any other alternative. And that's maybe a topic for another YouTube, which is some of the other better high schools in New York. And there's a lot of them, a lot of just public ones. This I mentioned before, the TACHS is a bunch of Catholic high schools. There's also some high schools that don't follow the auspices of the state educational requirements, like the Hunter College School, the Hunter College High School. By the way, if anybody's considering that, you need to enter that through grade 7. You can't enter that through grade 8. Okay. Anyway, if anybody needs last-minute tutoring, definitely hit me up. It's not too late. It's not too late if you're worried about a certain part of it, or you just want general overview comment, or somebody looking at over your shoulder to give you thoughts. It's not 6 o'clock yet. I have somebody to tutor in about 15 minutes. So I'm going to head out, and probably in an hour and a half or something, I can briefly go to the local, and we could do it over the phone even, maybe sometimes. It doesn't have to be done through video and so on. Sometimes we both bring up the same test paper with the same question. We can do it. Worst case, we get an app that lets us do a whiteboard. Okay. So there's many choices here. And again, if you have SHSAT needs for the future, you have another sibling, or you have need help in the state test this year, or whatever the case may be. Okay, some of you 8th graders are taking Regents as well. So I'm very available, and this goes in modes rather. So the SHSAT is the beginning. I'm starting to get some of the, because everybody got the report card by now, I'm starting to get feedback from parents who all of a sudden realize they need a tutor. So I'm going to be helping not just regular kids do homework and so on. And eventually, when it moves towards May and so on, April, I'm going to be doing all the state testing, and then there's all testing in the middle, like the Gift and Talented testing is in January. The Hunter College testing is in January. I have a student with the TACHS now, which is in about 2 weeks, I think. So, and it just leapfrogs throughout. So, all right, okay, people, peace out.